Shumai Baub, hello everyone. Jason Shepherd here from the Learn Welsh podcast, and today I thought we'd do something different. We always look at things that are Welsh themed, but today I want to look at some of the favourite Christmas presents that we wanted as children. Back, through the decades, looking, the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. So I've got an article here called What are the most popular retro toys throughout the decades? It says Christmas is a time for everyone to feel like they are kids again. And what better way to do that than take a trip down memory lane and look at some of the favourite toys through the years. Everyone has their favourite old school toys they remember from childhood, but which is the most popular? So we surveyed 2,000 adults in the UK, all born between 1960 and 2000, and discovered that although many of the favourites changed by decade, there was one toy in particular that withstood the test of time, the humble bicycle. Now, back in the 70s, people were after the chopper. Now, the seat was far back, the handles were far forward, a weird-looking bike. And I know a lot of people were telling me when I was growing up, the chopper was the best bike ever. But when I was a kid, it was the BMX bike with the big bobbly wheels so that you could supposedly ride over rough ground, but it really wasn't great riding over rough ground. But that's what the wheels were supposed to be there for. But we loved them. We had different coloured tyres. You had these little reflective things that you could stick through the spokes, and they would light up in the sun. And you could also have these little things that made a noise. So you stick them in the spokes, and then as you were riding, you'd hear this crackling noise. So we really loved our bikes. We discovered that also a quarter of adults involved in the survey had at some point in their childhoods asked for a bicycle from Santa. Also featuring in the top 10 most popular retro toys throughout the decades was the simple football. Not surprising, as our nation is constantly ablaze with football fever, and that is true. Even though we speak in these videos about rugby being the most popular sport, football is a close second, and people in Wales and the UK in general love football. And as kids, it was such a simple toy because we could take our football, go outside on the road with our mates and just kick about with the football. Often we'd play it properly and we'd have teams, and we'd get our jerseys, our jumpers, and we'd put two down either side, make those the goal posts, do that on both sides, and then we just kick our balls and try to win and pretend that we were Gary Lineker or Kevin Keegan in my day. Okay, what's next? More surprisingly was the inclusion of Monopoly, the game that is perhaps as famous for its mascot, Rich Uncle Pennybags, as for causing heated debates between family members over unpaid rent and ownership of London's most in-demand railway stations. If you don't know Monopoly, and if you don't, you've been living in a cave, but Monopoly is a great game. It's a board game, and the idea is that you will try to win or buy as many different places in London as possible, including train stations. And if you own a place and somebody lands on that square, they've got to pay you rent. It's great free money. Fake money, sadly, but free money anyway. The greatest thing about the game was the little counters that you used. They were little metal counters, and there was like a little top hat and a little dog, and I can't remember the others, but it was great fun. And you'd always be scrabbling to get the best counter. Oh, I want that one. No, I want that one. And the worst thing about the game was you could land in jail, and then you'd have to give £200 away. And that's not great fun, giving money away, even though it's fake money. It's not great fun. And whoever had the most money at the end would win. Problem is, people would want to keep the game going, and the game could go on for hours. Okay. Looking through the decades, the 60s saw Scalextric race to the top of the wish list. Although I'm an 80s child, I had a Scalextric, and I absolutely loved it. Basically, it's two racing cars, It could be more than two, but I had two which would race along a track, and you'd use a little remote control to race them and see who could win. Barbie dolls were also a popular addition to many Christmas lists throughout the decades. Now, there was also a fight between people who loved Cindy dolls and people who loved Barbie dolls. Barbie dolls looked more like models, like they hadn't eaten food for weeks, and Cindy dolls were a little bit, had a little bit more weight in them and looked a little bit more realistic. My wife says to this day she can't stand Barbie and she loves Cindy dolls because they were more realistic. Action Man. Now, I had an Action Man. Before they were the little tiny figures, they were like male Barbie dolls. And the one I had a crew cut, and you could feel the hair, with little hair coming through. And there was a little button at the back, or like a little lever that you moved back and forth, and his eyes would move left to right, left to right. And normally they were soldiers, or they were paratroopers, or they'd be going under the sea and they'd have a full scuba gear, that kind of thing. Etch-a-Sketch. Never had an Etch-a-Sketch, wish I did. Basically there'll be a picture up, but basically you'd have two buttons and you turn one button and then turn another and it would make a line. But you'd have to turn the two buttons in the right way together, or the lines would go all over the place. It wasn't easy. You couldn't just draw the line. You had to turn these buttons very carefully, or I should say little knobs very carefully. Another thing I always wanted was Mr. Frosty, the crunchy ice maker. And what it is, you could make little ice drinks. And you'd have these so basically you'd crunch the ice, put the ice cubes in, crunch the ice, and then it would be like a slushy. And then you could put little drinks, like a little diluted thing into it, like a little squash, and you stir it in and you'd have a lovely ice drink. But apparently it was really, really hard to crush the ice. So maybe it's better I didn't have one. We also had Care Bears and My Little Ponies, which I believe are still popular, especially My Little Pony. There are even bronies now, men who love My Little Pony. Back in the day, it was sort of My Little Pony for girls, Action Man, He-Man for boys. But I have to say, when I was a young boy, 4, 5, 6, I did love Care Bears, which was sort of like My Little Ponies. The My Little Ponies were obviously ponies with wings, and Care Bears were little bear figures. They weren't teddy bears, they were sort of a hard little figure. The arms would move, the head would move. And they were all different colours, and they'd have a different little symbol, like a rainbow, for example, on their chest. They then brought out different other animals, like elephants, I think. They certainly brought out a lion, and I remember having the lion figure. I loved those figures as a little boy. In the 90s, we had Nintendos. I had a Nintendo, and I loved Super Mario Brothers, and we had Game Boys, which were the first little handheld games. Back then, they're pretty expensive. I had them for Christmas. I was really, really happy because they were quite a price on them. Do you know what? They were in black and white. Yeah, back then, normal games weren't. The Nintendo, the Sega, Mega Drive, they weren't. But these were in black and white. And I remember playing Tetris, and not having many other games, but I remember playing Tetris and loving it. And of course, the handheld games now are fantastic. I played quite a few different ones, and they are amazing. The graphic quality is so different. It was little pixels back in the day, and now so different. And I think kids today don't realise how much the technology has changed and how amazing it is now. They take it for granted. Okay. Oh, Tamagotchi. It was a little digital thing, and you had a little picture of a little digital animal, and you'd have to feed it, and if you forget to feed it, it would die, and you'd feed it by pressing different buttons, and pellets would come down on the screen, and you'd have to make sure he's happy and give him water and play with him. So it was like having your own little virtual animal to look after. Maybe it was good for children to have this, to see if they really should have a proper pet, like a dog or a cat. I was a little bit old for these, so I didn't have one. The latest generation has taken a different route to the one favoured throughout previous decades. 38% of children asking Santa for money or a gift card. This could be a way of making sure that Santa doesn't miss the hints dropped throughout the year. On the big day, yeah, you'd hint throughout the year as a child, and you wouldn't always get the Christmas presents you wanted, and you could be disappointed. And I know that, you shouldn't be. That's what kids are like. They don't understand all the money and graft the parents put into it. But I've got to say, this article really has taken me back to those days when we had all of these Christmas presents. And I've got to say, as much as I like digital stuff and I like things like this, my iPad, and I love playing, on the iPad or streaming videos, the digital era that we're in, there's something about these games where you're sort of hands-on that was so great. You sort of physically play them. You'd play the Monopoly and you'd move the things, or you'd press the buttons. It was so great back then. And I know you can still get these kind of games now, a lot of them. So tell me down below, what was your favourite game back in the day, or even what's your children's favourite games now? Let us know in the comments below. It'd be really interesting to see and to find out what games you played when you were a child. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining me. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a big thumbs up. I hope you've enjoyed this slight diversion away from Welsh themes to a more open theme, something that we did in Wales, but so did people in the rest of the UK. They had the same kind of toys as us. But I hope you don't mind the diversion or the change just for once. If you like what we're doing here, please give us a big thumbs up. I may have already said that. If you like what we're doing here and you would like to see our videos every time they come out, why not press subscribe? If you'd like to know every time a video comes out on the dot, click the little bell and you'll be notified straight away. I also want to thank you for supporting us. Thank you so much. Because of you, we are now at 10,175, I think it was when I last looked, subscribers. We're going up now to 11,000. Thank you so much for being here, for supporting us when we just had a few subscribers. Thank you so much for helping us to get up to this level. And I hope we'll keep going and get even better. Now, if you would like to support us and you're not, you can do it one of two ways. You can go to learnwelshpodcast.co.uk and join the Learn Welsh Podcast Club, or you can go to patreon.com/learnwelsh. Either way, you'll get loads of extra learning materials. You get all of our videos early and lots of extra stuff as well to help you in your journey to becoming a fluent Welsh speaker, or just stuff that will remind you about the nostalgia of all the fun things that we've done over the years here in Wales. If you're not into learning the language, we do lots of those kind of videos as well, looking at slang words, looking at lots of interesting aspects about Wales and Welsh culture. So I hope to see you over at Patreon or the Learn Welsh Podcast Club. I'm always there commenting and chatting with people. And now it's time to go. It's nearly Christmas, so I shall say the proper Christmas phrase, Nadolig Llawen. That's Happy Christmas, a Blwyddyn Newydd Dda, and a Happy New Year. Nadolig Llawen, a Blwyddyn Newydd Dda, and I'll see you soon. Bye.